day, my name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from eTurbo News in Honolulu with a breaking news update. Today, Dr. Gene Holder, the father of Caribbean tourism development, passed away.
Gene Stuart Holder was born to Lauriston and Alma Holder on March 28, 1935 at Bank Hall, St. Michael. His father was a teacher and pastor, while his mother was a housewife. The third of 7 children, he is the only boy. He received his early education at Roebuck Primary. After securing a scholarship, he ventured to Combermere School for 2 years. His erudition was so evident that he won another scholarship, this time to Harrison College, where he completed his secondary education. In 1954, he won a Barbados scholarship in classics and enrolled at the prestigious Oxford University, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts Honours degree in 1959 and a Master of Arts degree in 1962. It was while at Oxford University that he met a beautiful, gifted Jamaican student, Norma Joy Ione Edmondson, who was to become the love of his life. She had graduated from the University of the West Indies at Mona and came to Oxford on a Carnegie Fellowship to pursue another degree in chemistry. The two were married while he was posted to Oslo in 1961. Norma later became the principal of the Barbados Community College. Their union produced 2 daughters, Janet and Carolyn. Gene Holder studied diplomacy and international relations and received practical training in the British Foreign Service. This body established a London office in June 1962. He was then posted as a 3rd secretary to the British Embassy in Oslo, Norway. In the 1960s, Caribbean countries, long tired of their colonial masters, were on a trajectory towards independence. By June 1962, Jamaica, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago were actively moving away from British colonial rule. Although faced with many obstacles, Premier Barrow pursued independence with a singular focus.
Caribbean tourism is mourning the passing of Dr. John Holder, former CTO General, and issued the following statement.
eTurboNews.com. Dr. Gene Holder, the father of Caribbean tourism development, passes away. Caribbean Tourism Organization is mourning the passing of Dr. Gene Holder, former CTO Secretary General. Dr. Gene Holder, the father of Caribbean tourism development, passes away. The Caribbean Tourism Organization, CTO, today joins the rest of the Caribbean in mourning the loss of Dr. Gene Holder, the father of regional tourism development. The late Dr. Holder spent more than 30 years of his professional leading the development and expansion of the sector that would become the region's main foreign exchange earner and the engine of economic growth. The Caribbean, and we may argue the greater world of tourism, truly has lost one of its pioneering sons. Dr. Holder's progressive leadership during the formative years of Caribbean tourism distinguished him as a pillar of the region's tourism development. As a dedicated regionalist, he oversaw tourism's growth from infancy to its current various stages of maturity. Indeed, elements of the original Caribbean tourism ethos forged by the organizations which he led can be found in virtually every Caribbean nation, virtually every community, and anywhere in the region where the tourism seed has been sown. Dr. Holder sometimes joked that when he was hired in September 1974 to head the newly established Caribbean Tourism Research and Development Center, CTRC, he was a man whose only contact with tourism was as a tourist. That organization had a broad mandate for tourism education and training, tourism planning and research, as well as statistics. What he sought to create was a regional development agency which operated in the field of tourism to build developmental change and economic growth. By the time of his retirement, one could not speak of Caribbean tourism without mentioning his name. In January 1989, when the Caribbean Tourism Association, the body formed in New York in 1951 to market the region, merged with the CTRC to form the Caribbean Tourism Organization, CTO. Dr. Holder was the man at the helm of the newly formed regional organization, with reach into North America and eventually the UK and Europe. Among his first priorities was to seek to change the course of Caribbean tourism in anticipation of the dawn of the 21st century and the new developments and alliances that were at the time seen as visionary but are now part of our everyday reality. Today, the CTO stands proudly as a visible symbol of his success in building a development vehicle for the Caribbean tourism sector. His ultimate vision being grounded in the fact that, as a dynamic sector, tourism demands a constant action of development, even as we promote and market the uniqueness and diversity that exists in our Caribbean countries. Never one to back away from a challenge, after retiring from the CTO, Dr. Holder used the regional alliances he had forged during his tenure at the CTRC and the CTO to add his mark to the regional carrier LIAT, which he led as chairman until late 2019. Those of us who worked with Dr. Holder can attest to him truly being a mentor, subtly encouraging and, as if by osmosis, imparting his insights to you. This continued even after he moved on from active professional life, when neither his age nor incursions on his health dampened his resolve to be a positive influence, to make a significant difference and to keep his finger on the pulse of the Caribbean. The CTO Council of Ministers and Commissioners of Tourism, its board of directors, allied members, and staff share the region's grief and feel the sense of loss at Dr. Holder's passing. He will be missed, but the mark he has made on this region will be long remembered. CTO extends condolences to his daughters, Janet and Caroline, and to his entire family. May he rest in eternal peace. E-Turbo.
Besides the Caribbean Tourism Organization, messages are pouring in from all parts of the Caribbean and the world. One of the messages from the Honorable Edmund Bartlett. He is the long-serving minister for Jamaica and has been essential in so many different projects in the Caribbean and seen as one of their true leaders. He sent eTurbo News the following verbal statement today.
Ascended the region into the global space. He has served tourism as a real giant, and we are all the better for it. Indeed, on his shoulders, so many of the leading Caribbean tourism entrepreneurs, administrators, planners, thinkers, and even ministers have stood as we chart a path to make the Caribbean one of the leading destinations in the world. We mourn his passing, but we glory in his legacy. Jamaica is proud to have had the association with this great Caribbean man from Barbados. And we are all in his debt, and we offer our condolences to his widow and the children, and to the many other key partners, stakeholders, and extended family that have embraced and encircled him during his lifetime. May his soul rest in peace.
And this was our breaking news update for today. You can watch more breaking news updates on our YouTube channel. Just click on the YouTube link on any of our websites at eTurbo News, Meetings.Travel, Hawaii News Online, or go directly to youtube.com/travel news. We hope we see you again tomorrow, and you have a good night. Thank you.
Mr. Barr decided at the beginning of 1966 that he wasn't really confident that he could arrive at a solution that would get Barbados independence in a hurry. And he decided that he would go it alone. Well, that started another very, very bitter discussion in Barbados about whether Barbados could actually afford to manage independence on its own, either with its human resources or its natural resources. And of course, Mr. Barr was very determined that it could, and I have to say that I was strongly supported him.
He sees all you do, and he hears all you say. My lords are writing all the time. Oh, he sees all you do, and he hears all you say. My lords are writing all the time.
A few hours ago, the people of this country saw the end of a state of dependency on Great Britain and the realization of their hopes and aspirations when at midnight last night the territory became an independent state within the Commonwealth of Nations.
Now, in 1966, then Premier Errol Barrow appointed you publicity officer for the then conference to decide Barbados' independence. Could you tell us what this entailed?
I thought, extremely fortunate to have been asked by Mr. Barrow to assume the responsibilities of press and publicity officer for the conference and to attend the conference and to be responsible not only for briefing the British and the West Indian press, but also for drafting reports for him to approve to be released in the Caribbean.
The year 1973 proved to be a pivotal one for him when an ad for creating a new type of tourism agency caught his eye. Now, in the 1970s, your career went into the realm of tourism, regional tourism to be precise. If you could tell us, especially about your years at the Caribbean Tourism Organization and where you were adjudged to be among the 50 most influential people in regional tourism, what did this entail?
I expressed an interest. I think I probably was looking for a change from the Foreign Service. I had been in the Foreign Service activity for 14 years, and I thought that perhaps I needed a change. I felt that I had the ability to get things done. You know, let me just say this, although it seemed strange that I should have thought that I could do a job that essentially seemed like a tourism job. I think that my 14 years in diplomacy had given me skills, very largely negotiating skills, skills to getting people to do things done that I thought needed to be done and so on. So while I didn't have any tourism experience, I thought that I had the experience which was required for this kind of job, because it was a job that really initially had nothing to do with tourism. It had to do with creating an agency, designing an agency, selecting the kind of economists and statisticians and people of that kind who were never ever in any way associated with tourism prior to that period of time.
For his outstanding service to the region and internationally in tourism, he has received a bevy of awards, including the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Award in 1985 and the CTO Award for Excellent Service to Caribbean Tourism. In 1995, he was presented with the Life Achievement Award by the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association. Not one to resist a change, tourism propelled him to wrestle with yet another major challenge. In 2004, your career also went into another direction in terms of regional air transportation, precisely as chairman of LIAT. If you could tell us about the many challenges that you face as chairman.
An airline is an extremely complicated activity, and people are surprised when I say to them that every single major legacy carrier in the United States has been bankrupt in the last 10 years. Every one. The last one was American Airlines and American Eagle, which has not flown in the Caribbean since then. But they all point to the fact that LIAT loses money, which LIAT has done. And I'm not making excuses for some of the things that LIAT does, because I really believe that LIAT can do a lot better than it does. But having said that, There are many, many aspects to air transportation. You have obviously the cost factor, and the cost factor is affected, or has been for years, largely by fuel costs. It has been affected in the region. Liat has a very small fleet, and it's supposed to service 21 different countries, little countries with very small markets, separated by water, every day. And only 4 countries support it financially, and the rest of the 21 are fairly adamant that they're not putting any money in Liat. But if Liat does not show up on any one day, it is held to pay.
You're also credited to be one of the first chairmen of the National Independence Festival of Creative Arts. You really enjoy the arts. If you could tell us what gives you joy and why you decided to, take that direction in terms of being involved in the creative arts.
Perhaps one of the most important things I will mention about NIFCA was that, as with CTRC and CTO and so on, what was critical was not just starting the festival, but ensuring that it could be financed. A lot of people come along and they say, well, we're going to start things. And you say, but how are you going to maintain it financially? And say, well, we really didn't think about that. Well, that is always something that I have been able to make a contribution to. And I went to Mr. Barr and I said, this festival, if it's going to be maintained, it needs to be financed every year. And therefore, what we need to do is to do it under and I am a civil servant, and he's a prime minister, said, my business is to give him advice on these matters. You need to finance it under the independence vote. So every year when independence comes around and money is being voted for independence activity, you put some money in for NIFCA. And that is why NIFCA is called the National Independence Festival of the Creative Arts. The I is for independence. And that was to ensure that it could be financed under the government's financial program.
He has been at the helm of many organizations. He was the chairman of the Barbados Dance Theatre Company from 1969 to 1974 and a director on many boards, including K. Shepherd and Company Limited and Duty Free Caribbean, the Caribbean Hotel Association, the Caribbean Tourism Organization, and Special Olympics. For his outstanding contribution at home and abroad, he has also been presented with numerous awards, including the Distinguished Guest and Recipient of the Key to the City of Lima, Peru in 1973, Member of the Royal Victorian Order in 1975. He was also conferred with a Doctor of Laws honoris causa in 1998 by the University of the West Indies, and in 2000 he was honored by the government with the Barbados Centennial Honor as one of the persons who have contributed to this country's development in the last 100 years. Although an octogenarian, Gene Holder is still very active. In fact, a prolific writer, he has penned 3 books, a biography of national hero and father of independence, the Right Excellent Errol Wharton Barrow, a book on air transportation, Don't Burn Our Bridges, The Case for Owing Airlines, and one on the history of tourism in the Caribbean called Caribbean Tourism. He has also published over 150 articles on tourism. And now at this juncture of his life, Dr. Holder can reflect on his contribution to Barbados and the region with much pride. His legacy is assured. He joins the list of Barbadians who have achieved the pinnacle of success in their lifetime. To him we extend our sincerest gratitude. And that's where we end another edition of We Bajans, where we profile the life and times of Dr. Jean Holder, another outstanding Barbadian who has made a significant contribution to this country's development. I'm Kathy Lashley. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
House, and it's quite unique in the type of hotel we operate here because we have this by the galley side.
Great. I'm here with Bernie Weatherhead, founder of Sun Group Inc. Barbados. Bernie, I can call you Bernie or Chairman?
Absolutely, Bernie, please.
Yes. So you've worked in tourism in Barbados for over 50 years. What can we learn from the past as we go into the future?
Well, I would say to that very quickly that the world is round and everything goes around and comes around. Maybe in a little bit different way, but it's all very relevant to the past. And I think tourism in Barbados has developed naturally over the years with a good mix of international investment, not much international investment, but a lot of very local investment over the years. Small hotels, we are not really an island with big hotels, and I think, but there's room for every type of investment at the end of the year.
How do you think Barbados should be positioned as a tourism destination?
I think Barbados has to reach out to especially the American market. They're bigger spenders at the end of the day because they're shorter stays. But we have never been able to actually attract the Americans other than with sandals entry. And I think we have to go after markets too that we have not yet reached out to, and create the product that they want. It is not what we want, it's what the guests want. The different people that will visit us will come for a completely different reason than we would like to give. I always tell my management, you're catering to people, you're not catering for yourself, you're catering to different feelings.
Basically become a total customer-centric tourism destination.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Bernie.
My pleasure.